this is called a flipped chapter, and I just threw the flippin' cool idea in there. And it really is. Just plain what it is. So, how I came to find out about flipped chapter. Well, first of all, I have always wanted to never be the Sister Mary Holy Water of the world. The one, and it's kind of funny, but the one who's constantly resisting technology. And I call it the Sister Mary Holy Water thing because my wife teaches 3rd grade over at St. Greg's in South Euclid, and she teaches with a nun. And, you know, I've asked a few times, hey, I'll come in and help her how to do gradebook. And you go, you can't do that. You got to come in and show her how to turn the computer on. Because she'll just sit to the computer and go, I don't know what to do. You know, and it's like, and then at the same time, I watch my daughter grab a smartphone and just start going. And I'm like, you're 4 years old. You shouldn't be able to do this. But they do. And in fact, my wife was taking a class from Notre Dame College of Ohio she needed hours for her license. And they were offering 30 hours for free because it was a pilot program. And it turned out, she came to me and said, I don't have time to take this class. Hopefully this video doesn't make it to the Notre Dame people. Can you take it? And I said, sure, I'll take it. So I was helping her out. So I was helping her out by taking the class, and then I would actually talk with her about things. No, I did. But it was great because despite the fact that I didn't get the 30 hours, I gained so much insight. And this class, but the problem was, as the class started, it was all about using an iPad in your class. And every time I would do a little paper, I'd be like, sorry, I don't have an iPad, so I don't know what I'm supposed to do. And they were very nice, returning back to me. And in fact, she would make comments, and I was like, oh, she's actually reading these things. You know, so I often felt like they weren't even like grading it. But finally, I came up on this thing called a flipped classroom. And the thing that I liked about it was you don't have to have an iPad for it. And in fact, at some point maybe using the iPad will be good, but the nice thing about this is you don't have to buy an iPad. You can use what you got right now and do the flipped classroom. So the idea of what does a flipped classroom mean? Well, first of all, your lecture is your homework. So you got to just get the flipped idea. So in a typical classroom, you lecture, and then you give them homework at night. So we're going to flip that idea. So now we're going to go, for your homework at night, your homework assignment is watch a lecture. And then when you come into class, where it's typically a lecture, you're going to be given your typical homework assignment, which is a worksheet. And the idea being is that it's going to allow me more meaningful class time, face time with you. So that, you know, if you don't know what's going on, or you're having trouble with the homework, as opposed to just going, I don't know it, and just coming the next day, you don't have that excuse, because I'm here, and I can help you, and you got your peers around you, so that it's not sitting out in the hallway frantically copying someone's work, because up until that point, you'd be like, wow, this kid knows everything. When they take the test and fail, and you're like, oh, they've been cheating the whole time. Okay? So, you know, I really loved the flipped classroom idea because I do a lot of PowerPoint lectures in my class, and I do my homework at night. So, so I just ask you, what are some problems that typically occur when you do PowerPoint in class? When you're trying to lecture. What are some things that come up? Can you please repeat that, Mr. Rybka? Okay. Don't change the slide yet. And it's like, or when you specifically say, guys, there's a lot on here. I don't want you to take all this. Just take this thought down. And inevitably you finish the thought, you flip, you switch, and they're like, no! I'm like, no, you don't need to know this. Or what you typically say in a classroom where you'll say, guys, I have a lot of stuff up here. Do not copy it all right now. Work with me. As I'm teaching it, you take down that little note and then add to it. They don't do that. They're just get it all down. And it's like, and then sure, so what have you accomplished? You've been able to write things down, but you don't have a clue of what they mean, and I have said it, and they all know if I repeat it multiple times it's important, but they're not getting that idea down. So there's some problems just with PowerPoint. And then the problem with homework at night, you don't know what they're doing. They could be calling the friend. Well, they don't call. They're instant message. What's the answers? You know, that doesn't help them. Or as I said, I don't understand, so I'm just not doing it, and all that sort of stuff. So that's what happens with it. So here's the flip theory. All right, so you're going to go home, and you're going to go, I use Moodle. So you're going to go to Moodle, and there's going to be some flipped chapter, it'll say flipped chapter 18-1, because I typically do 2 lectures per chapter. So you're going to go home, and you're going to click on that, and it's going to come up, and it's just going to be a PowerPoint, and you're going to watch it. Now, integrated within the PowerPoint is, and I'll show you, I have a microphone, so I talk on it. So it doesn't make, I don't have to sit there and type all of my thoughts. I can have my thought there, and then I can talk. All right? And then, but a student can watch it multiple times. They can watch the same slide again and again and listen to me say what I'm trying to tell them. So it allows them to, in the ideal world, that they'll be able to walk out of that lecture going, okay, I know what's going on. Yep.
Have you found an app or anything that when you talk that it'll like write it out so that you could have that at the bottom as well?
That like dragon thing?
Something, yeah.
I haven't gotten that far yet, because I still, this is just me, I have a, I think there's still importance to listening and comprehending versus, because one of the things I am noticing them doing is they're not necessarily watching the PowerPoint, they're just immediately printing it. And then coming in with the printed copy, and I'm like, well, what does that little speaker say?
Right.
Oh, no. You know, so I'm forcing them to try to listen to it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then when we come into class, they're going to come in and they're going to get a worksheet, and then that allows me to walk around and go, okay, did you get that? Did you get the, you know, any questions, things like that. And I have one of the things that you may, if you're trying to think of, if you want to do flipped classrooms and how can I use some of these apps and things like that, go to this guy's lecture on the Socrative, because that's going to be, because what I'm going to end up doing is integrating things with the iPad, putting my homework on, putting that worksheet on there, putting, and I'm going to talk about a classroom ticket in a moment. So, okay? So that's the idea.
When you videotape your stuff, it was this idea, right?
Yeah, but that was more so for extra help. But if I were going to do this next year, I probably would do more of a flipped classroom, because I did different. I have different like problems and everything on the videos that I didn't like, rather than the ones that I did in class. I would make sure they were different.
Right.
Yeah, and that's one point is in the class I took at Notre Dame, that my wife took at Notre Dame. She had. They always talked about doing videos.
Yeah.
And to me, do you honestly want to see me? Go ahead, you can see me. But to me, what's most important was the PowerPoint.
Well, that's, for you. For me, because I feel like if you already had the math problem worked out, they're like, where did you move from this problem to this problem? Whereas if I videotaped it, or even videotaped my voice and had it record when I would write things down, that too would be something in the same, in the same sense. So,
now what I ended up doing was I also integrated ideas from my daughter's television shows. Dora, you know, even though it's Spanish, well, she should have been Latin, but that's okay. But Dora would get on and be like, red is rojo, and then she'd say, what color is this? And then she'd pause. And then, what is this stupid cartoon doing? Oh, it's allowed, you know, we never had that with Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny didn't sit there and go, well, I'm going to now jump off this building. Should I? No, he just did it, right? So I integrate that in the PowerPoint where I'll say, let's look at this sentence. What's the subject? And then I'll even say, I'm waiting for you to answer, you know, and then I'll give an answer. You know, now if they don't want to do it, that's fine, okay? So how do I flip a classroom? I'm gonna need a PowerPoint mechanism, so I just use my laptop. A microphone, now this one is Walsh Jesuits, so, but I know they're cheap. You can get a headphone system, but I always feel like I'm Britney Spears and I'm like going around the house, you know, dancing. But, so I just use this. And one of the things I found out was, don't get this close, because I was, you know, I listened to it and you'd get the P's, you know. Listen to the PowerPoint, you know, and I'd be like, oh man. You need a ticket device. And the ticket device can either be paper, or what I'm gonna end up using is the iPad next year. And that's the way you know the kids watched the PowerPoint. And then a worksheet. Okay? And I'm talking about this. Okay? So, there's, you know, you don't need an iPad. If you're still leery about one, didn't realize there were going to be so many. Number one, make the PowerPoint. And you don't have to make real wordy PowerPoints because you're going to be able to speak it too. Okay? But certainly put, you know, but also realize, like for Latin, I'm putting words down or endings. I realize they also have them in their book. So I'll have it there so that we can use it as a point of reference. Then, and I'm going to show you step by step how to actually make, how to actually talk. Okay? And I'll show it to you. So this is just the way to do it. Okay? But most importantly, just teach, don't rehearse. I was a little nervous, like, oh, maybe I should have it typed out. No, just teach it. Just teach it like you would in class. And I'd find myself at times in the middle of the PowerPoint, I would say something like, I was talking about the Oedipus complex, and I said, hey, make sure to ask me tomorrow about the Electra complex. And I kept going. And the next day, people were like, what's the Electra complex? Oh, what are you talking about? Oh, okay, I'll tell you. You know, so I was like, oh yeah, they watched it. I place it on Moodle, and I like to put, I don't put a lock or password, because they'll forget it. So I set mine up as guest use. So in fact, if you go on Moodle, you can go to Latin 1 and look at some of my examples. And then the next day I have a 1 to 2 question ticket. Now oftentimes that 1 to 2 question ticket is just one question, but you can pick from the two, just to give them some, and it's just based on what the PowerPoint was about. Just to make sure you watched it. I can put it on paper or iPads. When I put it on paper, kids cheat. So that was one of the problems. People were just looking. So what I ended up doing was, and then it also was like, okay, you're done, pass it up. Well, that inevitably became, or then it became, okay, I'll come around and pick it up, and inevitably I'm over there, and you're over there doing it. So finally, I just said, I'm going to ask the question, count to 10, and when you're done, you got to put the paper up in the air. If you don't, it's a 0. Ready? Here's the question. What's the genitive form of manus? 10, 9, 8. If kids raising his hand, I'm not even looking. 7, 5, 3, 2, 1. Hand up. You know, that's the only thing I can do. Now with the iPad and with that Socratic method, it's actually going to be, they're going to have a certain time limit. Click it, and then that's it. You can't change it. You've done it, you're done. Thank you. And then it immediately comes to me. At least with, now as I was collecting these, what I would do is they had their hands in the air. I would put the ones that were wrong up front, and then just put the rest behind. You know, and then I'd be able to go in and just grade it right there while they started their worksheet. And then I'd have a worksheet for them to work on. And oftentimes I get them rolling. Let's look at question number 1 together and make sure that we understand this. You got it? Good. Let's keep going. Okay? And then I take that moment to grade it and stuff like that.
Did you ever think of like guided notes where they had like the PowerPoint that you also have, but then you made another one where it was like blanks and stuff? And yes, I know that they could cheat, but if you have enough in there that they would be filling it out too. I mean,
I hadn't thought of that.
Because you could also have 2 different ones and save one as a PDF and then have the one that has the recording. And so then they would have it open on a PDF, have them start filling in the stuff so they're listening and also writing at the same time.
That's a possibility too.
So then you can come around and check homework like that.
The ones at least that I have are always on Moodle, so at least that was always there. And I would also put my worksheets there too, the day after I put it there. So Yeah.
So that would be something that like you could have both of them up, so it's like checking homework, and they couldn't just print out the notes because you would know that they did